Even before an investor thinks about acquiring an asset or making an investment, it will be prudent on their part to assess their financial position. So, this can be done by making a household budget, forecasting it, and just creating a balance sheet. So, as an example, let's take a family of four where husband and wife are working and who are in their early 30s and have two kids, a typical Indian family. Now, let's prepare their monthly household budget. Let's assume both of them are earning a gross salary of around 2 lakhs each and with other income of 10 lakhs, probably dividends or else it may be some form of gifts from their parents, something like that. So on the expense side, we can bifurcate into both the non-discretionary expenses and discretionary expenses. These are something which you cannot avoid. These are something which you can avoid or else you can reduce or increase whatever, depending upon your incomes or savings. And so in non-discretionary, so we have tax, which we have calculated basis the new income tax regime and the loan repayment. I have just assumed that they bought a house worth 2 crores and the repayment is for the next 30 years at a 9 percentage points interest rate. So, and then, and this happens to be the monthly EMI. And then we have the groceries, education, maintenance, transportation, internet and utilities. And again, these guys they have made a budget and they are dividing everything equally between them. Of course, in real life that may not be the case, but I have just in order to explain it in a simpler manner, I have divided into two equal halves. So on the discretionary side, we have we, we these two people spend around 10,000 on the restaurants. At movies they spend around 10,000, and for shopping it is like 10,000. And yearly they go to a trip and they spend around 2.4 lakhs. So what these guys have done is like they have reduced it on a monthly basis. It would be something like a 10,000. So it's for easy calculation, and each of them have assumed that they will be contributing 15,000 towards the provident fund, and after this the surplus whatever is there, so they typically invest in the mutual funds or fixed deposit, and their combined savings on a monthly basis would be around 92,710, right? So again, now we have to go to the next part, that is the budget forecasting. And one of the reasons why we have to do is to understand at what rate the inflation is affecting us. So when we are reading on the newspaper, it is usually around 4 to 6%. But it is never the same for every individual who is living in the country, because the basket of goods which are there when they are considering for the inflation may not be same for everybody, right? And the only way to find out is by forecasting these budgetary numbers. So now let's assume that both of them would be receiving a hike of 10% after annual appraisal. Now, since both of them are in the higher tax bracket, they'll be losing 30% of this hike. So that is effective hike would be 7% only. So now let's look at the tax figures. Previous year it was at 23,645 for both. Now it is at 29,645. So an increase of almost like approximately 6,000 increase is there on 23,000. That would be like close to 6%. Close to 30% is the hike, 25, 26, something like that. And now let's look at the loan repayment. So there are multiple times when the interest rates will increase or decrease. But what if for that particular year that it has increased? Because last year there was an increase in the rate hikes. There was rate hikes. So similarly, I have assumed that the interest rate has increased from 9% to 9.5%. So that is a 6% hike in the loan rates. And then the groceries have increased by 8%. The education part, it has increased by 15%. Maintenance has increased by 5%. The transportation 10%. Again, these are the numbers which vary. You can always change. These are something dynamically I have done it. So these are the assumed numbers. So something like they wanted to increase their travel budget by 20%, something like that. So whenever we are increasing that, so the values obviously change. So that affects the savings rate as well. The PF is obviously it is increasing by how much how much, if the salary is increasing by 10%, it increases by 10%. But when we are looking at the total savings, it is coming down to 98,671 only. right? So it has increased from 92,710 to 98,671, slightly less than 6,000. That means the savings are growing less than 6%, whereas the expenses are growing anywhere between 5% to 20%, right? This is a major cause of concern because future goals have to be met through these savings, which in turn you invest in them. It may affect your retirement plans or else retirement. That is again, when you may people don't take this as a very serious challenge, because if it is affecting your retirement plan, that means it will be affecting your quality of life post the retirement. So that's something which you have to keep in mind always. So now let's just look at the balance sheet, right? So on the liability side, we have the loan outstanding on the credit card debt. So the loan outstanding, that is on the housing loan, I'm assuming it that to be around 1.95 crores. And on the credit card, the balance is around 50,000. So on the asset side, we have a house of 2 crores because they have bought it recently. They have two bikes which they take it uh, to their office and dropping the kids and everything. So further, and both of them put together are worth 1.5 lakhs, and the rest are in the savings, mutual funds, the PF, fixed deposit, and the savings account. Right? Everything put together, the assets are coming around 2.3 crores. Right? So now the net worth. So the net worth is nothing but the net worth is on the is nothing but the residual value of all these assets when you take out all the loans, liabilities which are there. So that's the reason why it's always on the liability side. So as of now, this family is having a net worth of around 34 lakhs. So positive net worth indicates the individual is solvent, and higher the value, it is better. So in this scenario, the net worth compared to the total assets is low, indicating a very high leverage in the system. So along with that, if you look at the mutual funds, which is at 15 lakhs, these are subject to volatility, right? So that way, and even the house, we don't know how much it fluctuates. And the bikes are something which will be, the price is always depreciating. It's not improving. It's not increasing, right? So that way, if you take the mutual funds and if you are taking the bikes out, of course, we should not do that way. But the net worth can go down very quickly in this case, right? After looking at this two most important everything, so the two most important focus areas are that the investor has to concentrate on improving their saving rate and reducing the debt, because their savings rate is increasing at a very slower pace compared to their needs, and at the same time that the debt is like really very high. So after all this analysis, right, if the investor goes for the goal planning, they will be able to understand what their priorities are, and they should think of the goals which are high priority in their lives as well. Something like retirement goals and you know sponsoring their kids' education and the contingency fund. So once this assessment is over, then they have to look at the insurance cover. So in case of any untoward incident, this insurance cover should be able to replace one or both the incomes, and at the same time, it should be able to take care of the needs of their kids as well. Right? Now, once everything is in place, the final piece in this jigsaw puzzle is asset allocation, which is responsible for 90% of the returns in any portfolio, actually. Right? So, for all this to happen, the beginning is for a client to understand his or her, financial position. So only after you do all this stuff, like once you do the monthly household budget, and then once you forecast, and then you prepare your balance sheet, and you understand how your liquidity position is, how solvent you are, and the levels of your debt, or else the rate at which your savings are increasing. That's when you will understand more about the financial goals, and you will be able to appreciate all this process as well, right? And then you can go for the insurance cover and then the asset allocation. So, finally, this video is for educational purpose only. Whatever asset classes we have discussed in this video are neither a recommendation to buy nor sell. Thank you.